The night began like any other, calm and quiet, with people across the world looking at the stars without knowing what was coming. But then, something strange happened. One by one, the stars began to disappear. At first, people thought it was a storm or maybe some natural event. But soon it became clear that this was not nature. Something enormous was moving across the sky, something so massive it blocked out the light of distant stars. Families stood in their homes, scientists looked through telescopes, soldiers rushed to their stations, and children pointed up with fear in their eyes. The world was about to witness something no one had ever imagined. High above the earth, a fleet of alien warships appeared. They were black, sharp, and endless in number. They moved with a silence that felt more terrifying than thunder. The ships stretched across the horizon, so many that the night sky turned into a wall of metal. In every country, people ran to the streets, recording with their phones, their voices shaking. It was not a movie. It was not a dream. The invasion had begun. The Galactic Invaders, a force whispered about in alien legends, had finally arrived at Earth. For centuries they had crushed countless worlds, turning planets into ashes, enslaving species, and leaving only silence behind them. To them, Earth was just another target, another weak planet ready to fall. But to the humans below, it felt like the end of everything. In New York, traffic froze as cars stopped in the middle of the road, drivers staring at the glowing shadows above. In Tokyo, crowds filled the squares, pointing up as giant ships blocked out the moon. In deserts, mountains, and small villages, people watched the same terrifying sight. No matter where you were, no matter who you were, the message was clear. Earth was no longer alone, and its visitors were not friendly. Soon, the aliens made their presence known. A signal cracked across every screen, every phone, every device on the planet. The image of a tall alien appeared, its skin like steel, its eyes glowing like fire. Its voice was cold, sharp, and merciless. It spoke not in human language but in a tone that was somehow understood by all. "People of Earth," it said, "your time has ended. Surrender your planet, surrender your freedom, or be destroyed. You have 24 hours to decide." The world fell silent. No one knew what to say. Governments rushed to secret meetings. News channels repeated the same words again and again. Earth has been given an ultimatum. Some people cried, holding their families tight. Others prayed, asking for miracles. And some grew angry, shouting at the skies as if their voices could fight the fleet. Yet, no matter what humans felt, the truth was clear. The invaders had the power to erase Earth with a single strike. But something strange was happening behind closed doors. While fear spread through the streets, world leaders were not panicking. In secret bunkers, in underground rooms, generals and scientists met quietly. Their faces were calm, their voices steady. They knew something that the rest of the world did not. They had been waiting for this day. They had been preparing. Still, the people of Earth could not see this. All they saw was doom above their heads. The sky was no longer theirs. Satellites showed thousands of alien ships forming a net around the planet. Escape was impossible. Resistance looked hopeless. Humanity seemed small, fragile, and powerless against the greatest force in the galaxy. And yet, there was silence from the governments. No messages of surrender, no signs of weakness, no desperate calls for peace. Instead, a strange quiet confidence seemed to hang in the air. Some wondered, had the leaders lost their minds? Did they not understand what kind of enemy they faced? Or did they know something the people did not? As hours passed, fear grew heavier. Rumors spread across social media. Some claimed the military had a secret weapon. Others said aliens had already taken control. Conspiracy theories filled the internet. Nobody knew the truth. But everyone knew one thing. The countdown had started, and when it reached 0, the invaders would strike. Children asked their parents if the stars would ever come back. Old men and women remembered stories of war but said this was different. This was not just another battle. This was survival. Across the world, the feeling was the same: helplessness. Yet, Far away in hidden places, deep under mountains and oceans, something else was moving. Machines were waking up. Lights were turning on. Codes were being entered. And in the shadows, a voice whispered, "Let them come." The night sky was no longer beautiful. It was no longer peaceful. It was a warning. The galaxy had turned its eyes to Earth, and Earth stood at the edge of destruction. But hidden in that darkness was also a secret, one that the invaders could not see, one that even the people of Earth did not yet understand. The sky had turned dark, but the story of humanity was only just beginning. The alien fleet did not move away. It hung above Earth like a shadow that refused to fade. The ships formed perfect lines across the sky, their glowing edges brighter than the stars they had covered. People tried to return to normal life, but normal no longer existed. Every eye was fixed upward, waiting for the end. In every city, giant screens repeated the same message: Earth had only 24 hours. The invaders demanded surrender. If humanity refused, destruction would follow. The alien leader's face appeared again and again on every device, its voice cold and certain. "You are weak. You cannot fight us. Kneel and live as servants, or resist and be erased." The words struck like thunder in human hearts. Some cried, believing it was hopeless. Some grew angry, vowing never to bow. And others simply froze, too afraid to move, too afraid to hope. Governments across the world held emergency meetings. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, and scientists filled hidden rooms, their conversations sharp and tense. Satellites confirmed the truth: the alien fleet was armed with weapons beyond imagination. Their cannons glowed with power strong enough to melt entire cities. Their shields could block even nuclear strikes. Against such a force, Earth seemed like a child holding a wooden sword against a giant. And yet, inside these secret rooms, human leaders did not tremble. They did not speak of surrender. Instead, they exchanged calm looks and faint smiles, as if this invasion was not unexpected. As if they had been waiting. Meanwhile, ordinary people felt only fear. In the streets of London, families packed into shelters. In Cairo, religious leaders called for prayer. In Moscow, crowds filled Red Square, demanding answers. In New York, news anchors whispered the same haunting words: 23 hours remain. Across the world, the countdown ticked. Social media exploded with panic. Videos of the alien fleet filled every screen. The silence of the ships felt like mockery, as if the invaders enjoyed watching humans squirm before the strike. But in the middle of this fear, strange whispers began to spread. Some claimed Earth's armies were testing secret weapons. Others said humans had been hiding technology for decades. Conspiracies grew louder, fueled by the quiet faces of leaders who refused to kneel. Why were they not begging for mercy? Why were they not running in terror? Something was hidden, and people wanted to know what it was. The alien leader returned once more on every channel. Its face was cruel, its voice sharper than before. "You are insects crawling in the dark. You build fragile homes and fragile weapons. Do you believe you can resist us? Your world is nothing. Your armies are nothing. Your hope is nothing. You have one chance to survive. Bow before the Galactic Council, and we will allow you to live as slaves. Refuse, and we will erase your planet from existence. Choose wisely." Then the screen went black, leaving behind only silence and dread. The words spread quickly, repeated in every language, shared in every home. Live as slaves, or die free. For many, the choice felt impossible. Some argued that survival, even in chains, was better than death. Others shouted that freedom mattered more than life itself. Families argued, friends argued, strangers argued. The world was breaking into pieces of fear, anger, and confusion. And still, the leaders of Earth gave no answer. Hours passed. The countdown reached 20. Alien ships adjusted their formation, closing tighter around the planet. It was clear they were ready to strike. Their weapons glowed faintly, like suns waiting to be unleashed. Cameras captured the terrifying sight and broadcasted it to billions. Children cried. Old men whispered that humanity's final day had come. Yet, behind the walls of hidden bases, human commanders only nodded to one another, their hands steady, their eyes firm. They were not preparing to surrender. They were preparing for something else. Scientists in underground labs spoke in hushed voices. Machines hummed with strange power. Symbols and codes flashed across massive screens. "We must wait," one scientist said. "Not yet. The time is not right." Generals checked their watches, knowing the world was seconds away from panic. Still, they did not act. They were waiting for the right moment, as if following a plan no one else knew. The alien fleet grew impatient. The leader returned again, its voice filled with anger. "You waste time. You insult us. Do you believe silence will save you? You have 18 hours left. After that, your planet will burn." The signal ended, leaving the people of Earth trembling. Some begged their governments to surrender. Some demanded resistance. But the leaders still remained calm. Not a single message of surrender was sent. Not a single call for peace was made. It was as if humanity had decided to remain silent against the most powerful enemy in the galaxy. Night turned to morning, and morning back into night, but the shadow above Earth never moved. It waited, patient and merciless. The countdown reached 10 hours. Then 9. Then 8. Each passing moment was another stab of fear in the hearts of billions. Yet deep beneath the surface, the hidden rooms of Earth grew brighter with secret energy. The leaders gathered one last time. A general leaned forward, his voice low but steady. "Let them believe we are weak. Let them believe we will bow. When the time comes, they will learn the truth." And so, the world watched the clock tick closer to zero. The alien fleet prepared for victory. Humanity waited in silence. The sky glowed with the threat of fire. The demand had been given. The choice had been forced. But Earth had not answered. Not yet. Beneath the surface of the Earth, far away from the noise of panic and the shadow of alien warships, vast underground chambers came alive with light. These places were not known to the public. Hidden under mountains, oceans and deserts, they had been built in silence, without news cameras, without public eyes, without even whispers on the surface. Here, generals, scientists, and engineers worked together in quiet determination. While the people of Earth looked at the sky and saw only fear, these hidden rooms looked at the same sky and saw a challenge they had been waiting for. In one chamber, old screens flickered with alien ship movements. Strange symbols glowed on walls, and enormous machines pulsed with energy unlike anything seen before. A man with gray hair and sharp eyes leaned over a console. His name was Dr. Havelock, a scientist forgotten by the public but known in these hidden circles as the mind that had changed everything. He spoke slowly, his voice calm. "They think we are weak. They think we are nothing. But they have no idea what waits for them." His words carried weight, and the soldiers and scientists around him nodded. 4 years, Earth had been preparing, not because they expected peace but because they knew one day the sky would turn dark. They had seen the signs long ago. Strange signals had been intercepted decades earlier, signals that did not come from Earth but from the stars. Governments had kept it secret, hiding the truth from the public while quietly building what was needed for the future. 4 years, humanity had lived in the shadow of a secret war, a war not yet fought but always expected. At first, the leaders of Earth had no weapon strong enough. They had only fear and questions. But then something changed. In a remote research station, an experiment opened a door to knowledge no human should have found. It was not alien technology stolen from others, nor was it magic. It was science pushed beyond its limits, a discovery that rewrote the rules of reality. The humans had named it the Void Engine. It was not a gun, not a bomb, not a missile. It was something far more dangerous. The Void Engine did not destroy in the way normal weapons did. It did not burn, it did not crush, it did not explode. Instead, It bent the very laws of existence. Anything caught in its reach did not die. It simply ceased to be. It was as if it had never existed at all. That secret had been buried, hidden deep, known only to a handful of leaders and scientists. The world above had no idea. The public believed humanity's greatest weapon was still the nuclear bomb. But deep underground, humanity had crafted something far greater, something that even the Galactic Council would fear if they knew. Dr. Havelock placed his hand on the console, feeling the quiet hum of the engine below. "We cannot reveal it yet," he whispered. "Not until they strike first. Not until they believe we are powerless." His words were harsh, but the generals agreed. They knew that to unleash the Void Engine was to show the galaxy humanity's greatest secret, and once revealed, there would be no turning back. Above ground, the people begged for answers. Social media burned with anger. Why was Earth still silent? Why were the leaders not responding? Fear grew heavier with every passing hour. Some believed their governments had already abandoned them. Others believed they were secretly in talks with the invaders. But in truth, the leaders were waiting for the perfect moment, waiting to show the galaxy what humans had become. In the underground chambers, younger scientists questioned the plan. One of them, a woman named Sarah, looked at Dr. Havelock with fear. "If we use it, there's no going back. The whole galaxy will know. Are we ready for that?" The old man's eyes hardened. "We are not ready. But we have no choice. If they destroy us, our future ends here. If we show them what we can do, the future begins with us." His words silenced the room. Everyone understood the weight of what he meant. The Void Engine was not only a weapon, it was a declaration. It was proof that humanity, the species the galaxy had ignored for so long, had touched something greater than any empire had dared. And so, while the world above feared the ticking clock, the chambers below prepared. Energy levels were checked. Codes were tested. Silent oaths were made. The people did not know, but their fate was being decided in rooms they would never see. On the surface, children looked at the sky and asked if tomorrow would come. In the streets, whispers of surrender grew louder. But beneath the earth, men and women who had sworn their lives to silence waited for the moment to unleash the truth. The galactic invaders thought they were hunting prey. But prey had teeth, and soon the hunters would learn the cost of underestimating Earth. The whispered secret was almost ready to speak, and when it did, the stars themselves would tremble. The clock ticked down, each second heavier than the last, echoing in the hearts of billions. The alien fleet filled the skies, their dark shapes glowing with strange lights, weapons humming with power ready to burn the world below. Cities had fallen silent, streets empty as families huddled together in fear, staring at the screens that showed the countdown. 10 hours became 5, 5 became 2, and soon only minutes remained. Every device on Earth flashed the same numbers, reminding everyone that the time for choice was over. Yet Earth had given no reply. The Galactic Council grew restless. Inside the lead ship, the alien commander stood tall, his body wrapped in black armor, his eyes blazing with cruel certainty. To him, this was not war but punishment. He sneered as he watched humans panic. "They had their chance," he growled to his officers. "Now they will learn what happens to those who defy the Council." His voice echoed through the alien warship, filled with arrogance. He believed victory was already his. After all, no world had ever resisted the Council and survived. No species had ever refused surrender without being erased. The Council had crushed giants before. What chance did fragile humans have? Outside, the fleet adjusted into attack formation, massive cannons aligning with Earth, their tips burning with energy like newborn suns. The invasion had reached its final moment. On the surface, chaos spread. In Paris, people ran through the streets screaming. In Delhi, bells rang as temples overflowed with desperate prayers. In Los Angeles, soldiers stood ready though they knew their weapons could not save them. The whole world felt the weight of the alien gaze pressing down, as if the planet itself had already been claimed. Mothers cried, fathers shouted, children clung to each other, and yet, in the highest levels of power, silence remained. The leaders of Earth did not send messages of surrender. They did not beg for mercy. They did not kneel. Instead, they waited, their faces calm, their voices quiet, their eyes set on the final seconds of the clock. In one hidden chamber, Dr. Havelock stood before the glowing console of the Void engine. His hand hovered over the final switch, his face pale but steady. Around him, scientists and generals watched with clenched jaws, their bodies tight with fear. "Hold," Havelock said softly. "We cannot move until they fire. They must believe we are helpless. Only then will they understand." The room went silent, filled only by the low hum of machines and the pounding of human hearts. Above, in the alien flagship, the commander raised his hand. The countdown reached 0. A deep voice filled every human device one last time. "Your time is up. Your world is ours." His hand dropped, and with that signal, the alien fleet unleashed its power. Beams of energy brighter than the sun burst from the cannons, tearing through the sky toward Earth. For a moment, the world lit up as if day had returned, but this was no sunrise. It was death falling from the heavens. People screamed, closing their eyes, waiting for fire to consume them. Cities prepared to be turned into ash. Mountains and oceans braced for annihilation. Yet when the light struck, nothing happened. There was no explosion, no burning cities, no shattered mountains. The beams hit their targets, but they dissolved into silence, as if they had never existed. Confusion spread. The alien commander snarled, ordering another strike. Again, the fleet fired, and again the beams vanished into nothingness before reaching the surface. His officers looked at him with unease, their claws tapping nervously against metal. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. On Earth, people opened their eyes slowly, realizing they were still alive. The streets filled with voices of disbelief. "We should be dead," someone whispered. "Why are we still here?" Above, panic grew in the alien ranks. Ships recalibrated, systems checked, but no answer was found. Their most powerful weapons had simply disappeared. In the underground chamber, Dr. Havelock's hand rested firmly on the switch, his eyes sharp. "Now," he whispered. The Void engine roared to life, its hidden core burning with impossible energy. Across the fleet, alien ships flickered. One by one, vessels that had loomed like mountains simply vanished, not destroyed but erased, as if they had never been real. Entire squadrons disappeared in seconds. Alarms screamed inside the flagship, officers shouting in panic as more and more of their mighty fleet was swallowed by nothing. The commander roared in fury, but his voice was drowned by the chaos around him. On Earth, people looked up and gasped as massive ships dissolved like smoke in the wind. The sky that had once been dark with invaders now showed holes of starlight breaking through. Hope spread like fire. Humanity was still alive. Humanity was fighting back. The countdown had ended, but not in the way the invaders had promised. It was not Earth that lay in ruins. It was the Galactic Council's fleet that was being erased from existence. And for the first time in history, the galaxy would learn that Earth was not prey. Earth was something far more dangerous. The alien fleet that had once covered the sky now trembled with confusion. Their first strike, a weapon powerful enough to erase continents, had vanished into nothing. Their second strike had ended the same way. For the first time in centuries, the warriors of the Galactic Council felt fear. Ships that had never known defeat now blinked with red alarms. Commanders shouted orders, but their voices shook. And then it began. From the surface of Earth, no missiles were launched, no lasers fired, no explosions ripped through the sky. Instead, the invaders simply started to disappear. One massive ship at the edge of the formation flickered like a candle and then was gone, erased in silence. Another followed, and then another, until whole rows of battleships vanished as if the stars themselves had swallowed them. On Earth, people filled the streets, their eyes wide, their voices trembling. They had expected fire raining from above, cities turned into ashes, oceans boiling into steam. But what they saw was the opposite. Their enemy was being destroyed without a single shot from Earth's armies. Some cried with joy, others shouted in disbelief, but most simply stood frozen, unable to understand what was happening. In the alien flagship, the commander's rage filled the chamber. His claws tore through the console as he demanded answers. What is this? What have they done? But his officers only shook their heads, their screens showing impossible results. The enemy was not attacking them with force, yet their ships were gone, erased from reality as if they had never been built. Panic spread through the fleet. Soldiers trained to dominate weaker worlds now faced something they could not see, something they could not fight. The commander ordered a retreat maneuver, desperate to regroup, but even retreat was too late. As the Void engine expanded its reach, more ships fell silent, their lights fading, their massive bodies erased without resistance. In hidden chambers deep beneath the Earth, Dr. Havelock and his team watched the readings. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with intensity. "The Void is holding," he said. "Their weapons cannot touch us. Their fleets cannot survive us. Keep the field steady. Let them feel it." The room was filled with the hum of machines and the quiet breathing of men and women who knew they were watching history. For decades, humanity had feared being alone in the galaxy, feared being weak, feared being prey. But tonight, that fear was ending. On the surface, news channels broadcast the impossible sight. Reporters screamed into cameras as alien warships vanished in the middle of the sky. Crowds that had once sobbed in terror now roared with hope. "They're falling. The invaders are falling," was shouted in 100 languages. Across the world, the hopeless had found courage again. Children pointed to the stars and laughed. Strangers hugged each other in the streets. Humanity was still alive, and humanity was fighting back. But inside the alien flagship, the commander refused to believe what his eyes saw. He slammed his fist into the command table, his voice trembling with fury. "We are the Council. No species can defy us." Yet even as he shouted, another wing of his fleet disappeared into silence. Officers looked at him with fear in their eyes. The legend of the Council was crumbling before them, shattered not by another empire but by a single world they had thought weak. "Commander," one officer whispered, "if we stay, none of us will remain." The commander roared back, "We do not retreat from insects." But his voice no longer carried power. His fleet was dying faster than his pride could resist. The humans had unleashed something beyond imagination. It was not a weapon that could be blocked or resisted. It was not a gun to be dodged or a missile to be shot down. It was something greater, something that bent reality itself. On Earth, Dr. Havelock whispered to himself, "Now they know. Now they finally understand." For years, humanity had been ignored, treated as nothing more than dust in the galaxy's endless void. But tonight, the galaxy was watching. And what they saw was terrifying. One by one, the ships that had once darkened the skies were erased until the stars began to return, shining through the gaps left behind. The people of Earth lifted their eyes and saw the heavens clearing. The nightmare was breaking apart. But the battle was not over. The flagship still hovered above, its weapons charged, its commander desperate to strike one final blow. He ordered all power to be focused on a single cannon, a last desperate attempt to wipe Earth from existence. Lights gathered at the tip of the massive weapon, brighter than anything seen before. On Earth, the skies turned white as the weapon prepared to fire. People screamed again, hearts sinking, believing the end was coming after all. But Havelock raised his hand and gave the order. The Void engine surged, and before the cannon released its energy, the flagship itself flickered and vanished into nothingness, erased without sound or flame. Silence fell across the skies. The fleet of the Galactic Council was gone. Not defeated, not destroyed, but erased as if it had never come. The stars returned, shining calmly over a world that was still alive. On Earth, the silence broke into thunderous cheers. Humanity had survived the first strike. And now, the galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. The world celebrated as the alien fleet vanished from the sky, but beneath the cheering, a greater truth waited to be revealed. People looked up and saw the stars again, believing some miracle had saved them, yet very few understood what had really happened. The news called it a victory of courage, a triumph of humanity's will, but the real answer was hidden deep under mountains and oceans, in secret chambers where only a few had ever walked. There, the void engine pulsed quietly, its black core spinning with impossible energy, its hum like the heartbeat of a god. Dr. Havelock stood before it, his eyes fixed on the readings, his mind heavy with the knowledge that the time for secrets was ending. Around him, scientists and generals watched in awe, their faces pale with fear and pride. One whispered, "This is no weapon. This is something greater." And she was right. The void engine was not made to fire shells or beams, not made to break walls or burn skies. It bent the very law of existence itself. To the outside world, it looked like the aliens had been destroyed, but in truth, they had never been destroyed at all. They had been erased, undone, as if they had never existed in the first place. A ship that had taken centuries to build, crewed by thousands of warriors, was now less than dust, less than memory. It was gone not only from the sky but from time itself. Even the records of its creation, the echoes of its engines, the lives of its soldiers, all were swallowed by the void. That was the true hidden power of Earth, the reason humanity had stood silent while the clock ticked toward doom. They had trusted the impossible. They had trusted the weapon no other species dared to create. For decades, scientists had worked in shadows, breaking the rules of physics and reality. The first experiments had been disasters, swallowing whole laboratories and vanishing them from history. Some of the scientists had been lost too, their very existence erased so fully that even their families no longer remembered them. It was power too dangerous, too unstable, yet Earth had pressed forward because they knew one day the stars would come for them. The Galactic Council had made a mistake. They believed Earth was weak, fragile, unprepared, but Earth had already fought its war in silence, a war of minds, not soldiers. They had built the one weapon the galaxy feared most, a machine that could unmake creation itself. Dr. Havelock touched the console, his hand shaking. "The galaxy will come for us now," he said softly. "They will know we hold the void." His voice carried both pride and warning. The generals nodded grimly. They understood what the scientist meant. The council's fleet was gone, but that was not the end. It was the beginning. Other empires would hear of this day, other rulers would whisper the name of Earth, and soon the whole galaxy would wonder if humans were too dangerous to be left alive. On the surface, people danced in the streets, but in the bunkers, the leaders knew the truth. This victory had revealed their secret, and secrets never stayed hidden for long. Meanwhile, across the stars, in distant worlds and great halls of power, news spread like wildfire. Messages crackled through alien networks, reports screamed through military stations. The Council's invincible fleet had not returned. The Council's armada, feared by thousands of planets, was gone without trace. At first, many refused to believe it. It was impossible. But as survivors on the edges of the battle sent broken signals before vanishing themselves, the truth became undeniable. Earth had done the impossible. Earth had erased the unerasable. Panic spread among rulers of alien worlds. Some demanded answers. Some demanded revenge. But deep down, all of them felt the same chill. The humans had touched a power greater than war itself. In a hidden chamber, Sarah, one of the younger scientists, stared at the void engine with wide eyes. "We built something we cannot control," she whispered. Havelock looked at her, his face tired, his voice heavy. "Yes. But we built it because we had no choice. Weakness is death in this galaxy. And now the galaxy will finally see us." His words echoed in the silence, and everyone in the chamber understood. The humans had not just won a battle. They had changed the balance of power in the universe. They had shown that even a small world, once considered prey, could become a predator greater than all others. Outside, the people of Earth celebrated, thinking the danger had passed. But in the deep shadows, leaders prepared for what was coming next. The void engine had given them victory, but it had also painted a target on humanity's back. The galaxy would not forget. The galaxy would not forgive. And while the stars looked calm, while the night sky shone peacefully once again, a storm was already rising across distant worlds. Earth had revealed its hidden power, and now nothing would ever be the same. Across the galaxy, panic spread like wildfire. News of Earth's impossible victory tore through the stars, carried by broken signals, terrified survivors, and silent fleets that never returned. The Galactic Council, rulers who had crushed thousands of worlds without challenge, now sat in disbelief. Their fleet, their pride, their power, had been erased in minutes, not destroyed by missiles or burned by fire, but erased as if it had never been real. No records, no wreckage, no survivors. To the galaxy, it was as if the most feared armada had simply vanished into the void. On distant worlds, citizens whispered in fear, asking the same question again and again. What had the humans done? Rumors spread across trade stations and empire halls. Some said Earth had discovered a weapon that could unmake matter. Others believed Earth had called upon ancient gods. And still others whispered that humanity itself was cursed, touched by something outside the laws of the universe. In council chambers, powerful rulers argued, their voices filled with rage and fear. Some demanded an immediate second attack, gathering more fleets, more armies, to crush Earth before its secret grew stronger. Others shouted that attacking again would be suicide, that humanity now held a weapon no empire could face. For the first time in centuries, the council was divided, their unity cracked by fear. The commander who had led the invasion no longer existed, his name erased along with his flagship. Even his rivals could not remember him fully, his history fading like smoke in the wind. It was a sign of the horror Earth had unleashed. If the Void Engine could erase a fleet, could it erase whole civilizations? Could it erase the Council itself? That question froze the bravest voices into silence. In the shadows of the chamber, an elder spoke quietly, her voice trembling. We thought them prey, but perhaps they were the hunters all along. Her words echoed in the silence, and no one dared to disagree. On worlds far away, people watched secretly captured images of the human planet, the small blue world at the edge of the galaxy. To them, Earth had always been unimportant, a young species with no empire, no colonies, no strength. But now, every leader, every soldier, every trader looked at that small planet with fear. If Earth could erase fleets, what else could it do? What else was hidden beneath its oceans and mountains? In underground chambers on Earth, the leaders already guessed the reaction. Dr. Havelock looked at his screens, watching alien transmissions as they poured in. He could see the panic in their eyes, hear the cracks in their voices. They will come for us, he said simply. Fear always leads to war. Generals nodded grimly, knowing he was right. Humanity's greatest strength had also become its greatest danger. The secret was no longer safe. The galaxy knew Earth was no longer weak. Some would try to ally with them, some would try to destroy them, but none would ignore them. Above ground, the people still celebrated, unaware of the storm rising across the stars. Fireworks lit skies that had almost been burned away, and children laughed where they had once cried. They believed the danger was over. But beneath their joy, preparations were already beginning for the battles yet to come. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, in the throne room of the High Council, the rulers shouted at one another. A warlord with burning eyes slammed his fist on the table. If we do not strike again, others will see our weakness. The galaxy will crumble. A merchant prince shook his head, his voice shaking. Strike again, and we may not survive. Do you wish the council itself to vanish? Around them, voices rose in anger and fear, the proud unity of the council broken. For centuries they had ruled without question, but now one small world had shattered their certainty. In the silence that followed, the High Chancellor finally spoke. His voice was cold, his words sharp. We cannot allow humans to rise. Whether by alliance or destruction, Earth must be dealt with. His sentence sealed the future. Across the galaxy, fleets were recalled, spies dispatched, secret plans drawn. Every empire wanted to know the truth of the human weapon. Some wanted to steal it, others wanted to erase it, but all of them feared it. On Earth, Havelock whispered to his team, "The galaxy is afraid. And when the galaxy fears, it strikes." His warning hung in the chamber like a shadow. Humanity had shown its power, but the cost was only beginning. The galaxy no longer saw Earth as prey. It now saw Earth as the greatest threat it had ever faced. And so, while the people celebrated in joy, the rulers of Earth prepared for the storm that was coming. The galactic panic had begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. The galaxy trembled in silence, waiting for Earth to speak. Billions of eyes across countless worlds turned toward the small blue planet that had erased the might of the Galactic Council in minutes. 4 days, no message came. The council raged in secret, rulers whispered in fear, and ordinary people across the stars asked one question again and again. What would the humans say? Finally, on the 7th day, the answer came. Without warning, every communication channel across the galaxy was seized. Screens flickered on warships, trading stations, council halls, and private homes. A human face appeared, clear and calm, the image of a leader chosen not for power but for strength of spirit. Behind the figure, the earth glowed blue and green, fragile yet unbroken. The voice was steady, carrying through every corner of the galaxy. "We never asked for war," the human said. "We never asked for invasion, for threats, for chains. We wished only to live free on our world, in peace. But you came to destroy us. You came to erase us. And you learned that we are not so easy to erase." The words echoed across stars, shaking rulers and common citizens alike. The humans' eyes were sharp, not with hatred but with warning. "We do not seek conquest. We do not seek to rule the galaxy. But know this, if you come to us with fire, you will leave with nothing. If you come to us with chains, you will find your chains broken. If you come to us with war, you will find nothing remains." In council chambers across distant empires, silence fell. Leaders who had mocked Earth now sat frozen, their claws, their hands, their tentacles gripping their thrones in fear. The message was not shouted. It was not filled with anger. It was calm, steady, and final, and that calmness was more terrifying than rage. On Earth, the people listened too, their hearts swelling with pride. For centuries, they had looked to the stars with wonder, imagining themselves small in the endless void. Now they stood tall, their voices carried to every corner of the galaxy. The message continued, the human leaning closer as if speaking to each world directly. "We know you fear us. You should. But fear does not have to rule you. If you come with peace, you will find us as friends. If you come with respect, you will find us as allies. But if you come with war—" The human paused, and for a heartbeat the galaxy held its breath. Then the final words struck like thunder. "You will find nothing remains." The transmission ended. The screen went dark. Across the stars, silence followed, heavier than any battle. Entire planets froze, leaders stared at one another, and soldiers whispered in disbelief. The council's pride had been shattered, their fleets erased, and now the humans had spoken words that could not be ignored. Some rulers shook with rage, swearing vengeance, but even their voices cracked with fear. Others spoke of surrender, of alliances, of treaties to ensure Earth's power was never turned against them. The galaxy was divided, but all of them knew the same truth: Earth was no longer weak. Earth was no longer prey. Earth was a power unlike any that had ever risen before. In underground chambers, Dr. Havelock turned off his screens and sat in silence. His team looked to him for words, but none came. He knew what the message meant. It was not just a warning to the Council. It was a declaration to the galaxy. Humanity had stepped into the light, no longer hidden, no longer silent. The era of secrecy was over. The era of humanity had begun. On the surface, celebrations erupted once again. Children painted stars on their faces, banners waved in the streets, and families looked to the sky not with fear but with pride. For the first time in history, they believed Earth was not alone, not weak, not small. Across alien worlds, however, fear grew. Whispers of rebellion began in planets ruled by the Council. If Earth could stand against the galaxy's strongest empire, maybe others could too. Seeds of doubt spread, cracks forming in the very order that had ruled for centuries. The Council could feel its power slipping, all because of one world it had thought unworthy of notice. In the halls of power, a new question rose. Was Earth to be destroyed, or was Earth to be obeyed? And though answers were whispered, none dared to act quickly, for the memory of the vanished fleet still lingered like a ghost. The stars seemed quieter, the galaxy seemed darker, as every empire tried to decide what to do next. On Earth, the people lived under a new sky, one that no longer belonged only to the aliens who had mocked them. It was their sky now, their galaxy, their future. The humans had spoken with one voice, and the stars had listened. The message was simple, terrifying, and unforgettable. Earth was no longer a victim. Earth was no longer a target. Earth was a power that shook the stars themselves. And somewhere, far away in the silence of space, a storm of change began to rise. The galaxy would never be the same again.